All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to What's New with ME. This is the show where we don't argue about the news, we actually talk about it. Because over the last 48 hours, the headlines have been loud, they've been emotional, and depending on where you looked, completely different stories about the very same events. Tonight, we're doing something that may sound radical in 2026. You ready for it? Acts, context, a little satire, a little empathy, and zero allegiance to the outrage. Let's talk about it. Segment 1, Minneapolis, federal enforcement, and a story that just won't go away. One of the most significant developments of the last 2 days centers on a fatal shooting in Minneapolis during a federal immigration enforcement operation. On January 24, 2026, Alex Pretty, 37-year-old ICU nurse, U.S. citizen, was shot and killed during an enforcement operation connected to immigration protests. Now, pause, because this is one of those stories where how it's told matters almost as much as what happened. So here's what is confirmed. Pretty was a U.S. citizen. He was legally licensed to carry a firearm. He was present during protests related to immigration enforcement. Video footage shows him holding what appears to be a phone moments before the shooting. Early official statement described the encounter as justified. Now, let me pause again. As clear and as factual as those things were, if I were to go with an arm in my waist and a phone in the other, in the middle of a scaffold between an already agitated law enforcement and what appears to be immigrants that were going to be detained, there are chances that something is going to go crazy. Now, if you look a little bit before in other angles, in other videos, it was hitting the law enforcement cars. He even broke the tail light. Now, again, I'm not justifying what happened. What I am saying is if you are going to put yourself in a position where someone can get shot, there is a chance that you're going to get shot. So I am so sorry for the young man. I am so sorry for his families. They should be grieving. But what's happening is you got the news medias that are using both narratives. Oh, look at him. He was a bad guy. Oh, look at him. He was a hero. And you and I are in between fighting about it. So the truth is this. There is a moral code and there is a legal code. They both were at a clash. And unfortunately, if you were a law enforcement agent and you already have seen a gun and then there is a scaffold happening, and although it was a cell phone and you are already hot and thinking that is a gun, and all I'm thinking is I'm about to be shot and my kids won't have a dad, there's a chance that I'll freak out too and probably make that very same mistake or justified act. So, early official statements described the encounter as justified. Later, the statements softened that language, and that shift, that quiet recalibration is why this story didn't disappear after one news cycle. Because when narrative change, people start asking questions. And when video evidence enters the conversation, those questions get louder and louder. Federal leadership has since stepped into to oversee the situation directly, signaling concern about how the operation unfolded and how it was communicated to the public. This is no longer just about one tragic death. It's about trust. Trust in enforcement. Trust in institutions. Trust that the public is being told the full truth the first time, not the corrected version later. And no matter where you fall politically, that matters. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If the facts don't change, but the explanation does, people notice. Segment 2, video, transparency, and the credibility problem. So over the past 2 days, independent video analysis has complicated the initial story. Footage circulating publicly appears inconsistent with some early descriptions of the incident itself. And that puts institutions in a familiar bind. When official statements conflict with visual evidence, credibility takes a major hit, not the camera. This doesn't mean conclusions should be rushed. Investigations are ongoing. Legal determinations are not final, but it does reinforce a modern reality. Transparency delayed is trust denied. And in a digital age, you don't get to control the narrative anymore. You earn it. Segment 3, the bigger question: power, policy, and public confidence. Zooming out, this incident has reignited a broader national conversation. How do federal enforcement operations function in local communities? Where is the line between authority and accountability? And how do agencies maintain legitimacy when public scrutiny is instant and unforgiving? These aren't abstract questions. They affect cooperation. They affect compliance. They affect whether people believe the system works for them or on them. History tells us something important. When trust erodes, outcomes get worse for everyone involved. This is not about sides, it's simply about systems. Segment 4, conflict and human consequences. While this story unfolds domestically, the world hasn't paused. Severe storms and flooding have disrupted daily lives abroad and impacting transportation, infrastructures, and thousands of families. And at the same time, diplomatic efforts continue in global conflict zones where humanitarian access, security, and stability remains fragile. Different regions, different issues, same reality. Real people absorb the consequences, whether it's enforcement decisions, whether it's weather patterns, a geopolitical tension. The human cost is never theoretical. And please don't forget about Iran. Remember, Palestine, it should get the same exact attention in Iran. Segment 5, health news that hits closer than you think. So while all of this is happening, new health research gaining attention shows increased heart attacks risks appearing early than previously expected, even among people in their 30s. So if you're watching this stressed, tired, over-caffeinated, and saying, I'll deal with my health when things slow down, the data says things don't slow down, buddy. We have to. No panic, just awareness. So here's the reality of the last 48 hours. A tragic death raising serious questions. Institutions that are learning again that transparency isn't optional. Video evidence that is reshaping public understanding. A world dealing with storms, conflicts, and disruption. Iran being forgotten about, and I hope my free Palestine people remember Iran is burning and people are dying in the thousands, and a reminder that your health belongs in the conversation too. This is why context matters, because outrage without understanding doesn't lead to any solutions. It leads to more confusion, and confusion is super expensive, socially, politically, and personally. So, if you want news without noise, context without chaos, and a conversation that actually respects your intelligence, visit themestudios.net. That is themestudios.net. I'm Ali Mehdaoui. This is What's New with ME, and I'll see you next time.
Still marketing your business like it's the Yellow Pages era? Welcome to ME Studios, where local solopreneurs and small business owners catch up with the digital world and take over it. We help you go from invisible to undeniable. Featured on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Plus, gain press exposure in over 100 to 300 major media outlets like Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC, and the CW. Right here in Eatontown, New Jersey, just steps away from the soon-to-be Netflix studios, our multi-unit facility is built for creators, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Stop marketing like it's 1995. Start building your digital authority today with a team that gets it.